Good morning, Year 5. Welcome back to another math lesson. Happy Friday, and I just want to say a big well done to everyone for getting through another week of home learning. You're all doing great, and I love to see what you post on Class Dojo. So to start our Friday math lesson, we're going to do our flashback 4 questions. So you've got your 4 questions here and your bonus question as well, which I'd like you all to have a go at, please. So please pause the video and answer these questions in your maths book now. Okay, question 1. Divide 695 by 5. Is there a remainder and why? So you need to look at whether 695 is a multiple of 5, and the answer to 695 divided by 5, which you could have used your bus stop method for, is 139. So there is not a remainder because 695 is a multiple of 5, and we know this because it ends in the number 5. Okay, so question 2, work out 4,658 subtract 3,649. So you could have used your column subtraction, and the answer is 1009. Question 3, work out 64 times 23. So you could have used your column method and remembered your magic 0 to get the answer 1472. Question 4, what is the value of the 4 in the number 243,157? So you need to think of your place value and what the 4 represents in this number. And it represents 40,000 because we have 243,000. So it just represents 40,000 on its own. And onto our bonus question. What time is it and can you say it in another way? So our small hand is in between the 6 and the 7. So we know that the hour is the 6 and it's coming up to 7. And our big hand is on the 35. This is half past, so this is 35 past. So our time is 6:35. We can say 35 minutes past 6, or we could say 25 minutes to 7 or 25 to 7. So pause the video and mark your answers in a different coloured pen, give yourselves a tick or a dot, and have a look at any you made a mistake with. Okay, now we're going to move on to our maths lesson. And before we begin, could you please write the date and the yellow in your maths book? The date is the 5th of the 2nd, 21, and the yellow is to translate shapes on a grid using coordinates. So pause the video and do that nice and neatly for me in your maths book now. Okay, so as I said in the yellow, we're going to translate shapes today on a grid, but this time we're going to be using coordinates. So we're moving on from last lesson using our knowledge, and this time we're going to put some coordinates in the mix. So firstly, I just want to re-jog our memory of coordinates and how we find them. So I just want you to find the coordinates of the plots A, B, C and D on this graph here, and remember which axis we read first. So please pause the video to find the coordinates of A, B, C and D, and then we'll have a look together. Okay, so I've put the correct coordinates on the screen now. So A is 6, 8, B is 7, 4, C is 3, 5, and D is 5, 2. So let's have a little look closely. So if we look at our point A, the x-axis reads the number 6, and the y-axis is in line with the number 8, so it's 6, 8. B is 7, 4. If we start at our 0, go along our x-axis, B is in line with the number 7, and it's in line with the number 4 on the y-axis, so therefore it's 7, 4. C is 3, 5. If we start at our 0, go along to the point C, it's in line with the number 3 on the x-axis, and in line with the 5 on the y-axis, so therefore it's 3, 5. And lastly, D, if we start at our 0, go along to our point D, it's in line with the 5 on the x-axis and in line with the 2 on the y-axis. So just pause the video and just check whether you got those correct or not. Make sure you put the x-axis first and then the y-axis. Okay, so now we're going to do a bit of translation, but this time with coordinates. So I've got a question for you and I'd like you to have a go at it and see how you get on. So my question is, what would the new coordinates be if each plot, so A, B, C and D, moved 2 places to the right? So you could either pause the video and answer this in your books, so A equals B equals C equals and D equals, or you could point with your finger and see where you think they'd end up and have a look at the coordinates. So pause the video and have a little go at that question on your own now. Okay, so what I'm going to do firstly, just for those of you that might not know how to do this yet, is I'm going to model how we translate a coordinate 2 places to the right. So I'm going to start with A, I'm going to start on the point, and then I'm going to move 2 spaces to the right and plot my new coordinate. So I'm going to go 1, 2, and that's my new A coordinate. I'm going to do the same with B. I'm going to go 1, 2, and plot my new B coordinate. I'm going to do the same with C. 1, 2, plot my new C coordinate, and the same with D. 1, 2, and plot my new D coordinate. Okay, so as you can see, I've identified my original coordinates and now my translator coordinates after they've been moved 2 spaces to the right. So if we look at A, we know it's 8, 8 because we start on our 0, go along until we meet our new coordinate, which is in line with the 8 on the x-axis. And if I go up to my plot, I know it's also in line with the 8 on the y-axis. So therefore it's 8, 8. And if we look at our new B coordinate, if we go along from our 0 along to the point, it's in line with the 9 on the x-axis and in line with the 4 on the y-axis. So therefore it's 9, 4. And then on C, I'm going to have a look at C, start on my 0, go along until I'm in line with my new point C, and it's in line with the 5 on the x-axis. And if I go up to my point, it's also in line with the 5 on the y-axis, so therefore it's 5, 5. And our D, if we start on our 0, go along the x-axis, it's in line with the 7. And if I go up to my point, it's also in line with the 2 on the y-axis, so therefore it's 7, 2. So these are our new coordinates, so well done if you got those correct. And what I want you to do now is pause the video and have a look at our original coordinates and our translator coordinates and see if you can see a pattern. So pause the video and see if you can see a pattern between the original coordinates and the translated coordinates. Okay, so the pattern between the original and the translated coordinates is that the y-axis has stayed the same. So you've got 8, 4, 5 and 2 because it's stayed on the same y-axis, but the x-axis has been increased by 2 on the translated coordinates. So we've got 6 add 2 is 8, 7 add 2 is 9, 3 add 2 is 5, and 5 add 2 is 7. So because we've moved it 2 spaces to the right, it's moved 2 spaces along the x-axis, and that's why it's increased by 2 when you compare the 2 coordinates. Well done if you notice that pattern. It's quite hard to see, but it's good to know so we can check our work and our answers. So I've just said at the bottom of my screen, the y-axis has stayed the same and the x-axis has increased by 2. And it's important that you're able to see this because there'll be some questions about this in our worksheets today. Okay, so here are the step 1 questions on the screen now. So you've got to complete this and then compare the coordinates before and after the translation. And then once you've done this, you need to have a look at the coordinates and see whether the x or the y-axis has changed or stayed the same. Okay, we're going to move on to the step 2 input now. And I've got 3 questions for you on the screen. So question 1, what are the coordinates of the original shape? So this shape here. What are the coordinates of the translated shape? And how has the original shape been translated? So if you're feeling confident with the translation of shapes on a grid with coordinates, you could have a go, but if not, keep watching and I'll model how we do it before you have a go yourselves. Okay, so I'm going to model how we answer question 1. What are the coordinates of the original shape? So to find the coordinates of a shape on a grid, you need to find the coordinates of each vertex. So I'm going to start with my bottom left vertex, and I'm going to start on my x-axis. So I'm going to go along my x-axis until I am in line with the bottom left vertex of the square. So I'm going to go along, and I'm going to stop at number 2 because it's in line with my bottom left vertex. So I know the first part of my coordinates is 2, and then I need to find my y-axis coordinates. So I'm going to go up and see where I meet the y-axis. So I'm going to stop and see what number I'm in line with on the y-axis, which is 5. So my coordinates of my bottom left vertex will be 2, 5. Okay, and then we do the same process for the other vertices of the square. So now I'm going to do my bottom right vertex. I'm going to start on my 0 and go along my x-axis. So I'm going to go along until I'm in line with my bottom right vertex, and I'm going to stop at number 4 as I can see it's in line with my vertex. So my first part of my coordinate will be 4, and now I need to find the second part. So I'm going to go up along my y-axis and see what number I'm in line with, which is the number 5. So my coordinates for the bottom right vertex will be 4, 5, because our 4 is on the x-axis and our 5 is on the y-axis. Now I'm going to do the same for my top left vertex. I'm going to start on the 0 and go along until I'm in line with the vertex. So I'm going to go along. I'm going to stop at number 2 as I can see it's in line with the number 2, and then I'll go along to my y-axis and see what number that's in line with, which is the number 7. So my coordinates for my top left vertex will be 2, 7. And now I'm going to do the same for the top right vertex. So I'm going to go along my x-axis from my 0 and stop in line with the number, which is the number 4, because my vertex is on the 4 on the x-axis. Now I'm going to go up my y-axis and see what number it's in line with, which is 7. So my last coordinate will be 4, 7. So that is how we answer question 1. What are the coordinates of the original shape? So we've got 2, 7, 4, 7, 2, 5, and 4, 5. Okay, now I'm going to find the coordinates of my translated shape. So I'm going to do the exact same process, but this time using the vertices of this translated shape. So I'm going to start with my bottom left vertex. I'm going to start on my 0 and go along my x-axis to see what number it's in line with, which is the number 6. Now I'm going to go up to my y-axis and see what number that's in line with, which is 2. So my bottom left vertex will be 6, 2. Okay, and now that I'm going to do the same with my bottom right vertex here. So I'm going to start at my 0, go along my x-axis and see what number it's in line with, which is the number 8. Now I need to find the second coordinate, so I'm going to get up my y-axis and see what number it's in line with, which is 2. So my coordinates will be 8, 2 for my bottom right vertex. Now I'm going to do my top left vertex. I'm going to start at my 0 and go along my x-axis to see what number it's in line with. So I'm going to go along and I'm going to stop at the number 6 because it's in line with the number 6, and now I'm going to find the y-axis number, which is 4. So my coordinates will be 6, 4. Okay, and now my last coordinate of my translated shape. So I'm going to start at my 0, go along my x-axis and stop at the 8 because it's in line with the 8. Now I need to find my y-axis coordinate, which is 4. So my coordinates will be 8, 4. So now we have our coordinates of our translated shape as well. And now we need to answer question 3. How has the original shape been translated? So for this, I could just look at one vertex of the original shape and move along to see where it ends up on my translated shape. So I'm just going to go along and see where to stop to see how it's in line. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, because I know it's going to be along this line. So it's 4 right and 1, 2, 3 down. So far I think it's 4 right and 3 down. So now I need to check my other vertices. So I've done the bottom left. Now let's try the bottom right. So if I go 4 spaces to the right and 3 down, will it be in the same space as the translated shape? So 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right, 1, 2, 3 down. Yeah, that works. Now let's have a look at the top left vertex. Let's go 4 spaces to the right and 3 down to check our answer. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Yep, that works as well. And let's double check with our last vertex. 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right. 1, 2, 3 down. So now we know our shape has been translated 4 spaces to the right and 3 down. So now I've got a question for you based on what we've just done. So the question is, which shape has translated shape A 4 spaces to the right and 4 down correctly? Is it shape 1, 2 or 3? So have a think about your vertices and you could check by translating each vertice 4 spaces to the right and 4 down. So have a little go, pause the video and see which shape has translated shape A correctly. Okay, the correct shape is shape 2. So shape 2 is translated shape A 4 spaces to the right and 4 down. And we can check this by translating our original shape and seeing which one it matches. So I'm going to start with my bottom right vertex and I'm going to go 4 spaces to the right and 4 down and see if it is the number 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that works. Let's check with my bottom left vertex. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that works. Top left. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And our last vertex. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we know that shape 2 is translated shape A correctly and it cannot be shape 1 or shape 3. So well done if you got that correct, and if not, double check where you made your mistake. So on the screen now I have the step 2 questions, so pause the video to answer these in your book now. So for those of you that are feeling confident with translating shapes on a grid using coordinates, I'd like you to have a go at solving this problem in your maths book. So the problem is, point Z started off at 2, 6. It ends up at 5, 9. Describe the translation. So think about how you could solve this problem in your books using a grid. And you could just do a rough example for this one before you do it nice and neatly in your maths book for your worksheet. Okay, so here what I've done to solve this problem is plotted my point Z on the correct coordinates and my translated coordinate as well. So you could have had the answer 3 spaces up and 3 to the right, or you could have had 3 spaces to the right and 3 spaces up. It doesn't matter which way around you got, both are correct. And you know this by starting at your point Z and seeing how the plot has been translated. So you go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So you know it's been 3 to the right or 3 up. And then you can also do the same with 3 up and 3 to the right. So the idea of solving this problem is starting at your original plot and seeing how the translated coordinate has been translated. Okay, so I've got the step 3A question on the screen for you now. So pause the video to do this question in your maths book. Now I've got the step 3 and the extension questions on the screen if you're feeling confident and want to have a go. So pause the video to answer those now. Okay, well done Year 5 for completing your independent work. Here are the step 1 answers on the screen for you to mark in your books. Here are the step 2 answers on the screen now, so pause the video to mark your answers. Here are the step 3 and the extension questions, so pause the video to mark your answers in your book. Okay, well done Year 5, that is our maths lesson over. I hope you've gotten okay with using coordinates, as it is a step up from yesterday's lesson. So I'll see you again soon for another maths lesson. I hope you have a lovely weekend and a lovely rest of your day. Bye.